After 12 years apart, they revealed themselves at my impressive mansion. What happened next is a.m. Jake stood in the grand foyer of his mansion, feeling the weight of anticipation thick in the air. 12 long years without a single word from his siblings, and now, in the midst of hosting the charity gala, that long silence was about to break. His heart raced as he recalled all the laughter that filled their childhood home, now just memories tinged with regret. The very estate that had once bound them was now a fortress of solitude. The mansion gleamed under the soft glow of crystal chandeliers, each room a testament to the blood, sweat, and tears Jake had invested in fulfilling his version of the American dream. As the doorbell rang, his chest tightened. Would Emma and Ryan walk through that door like old ghosts, bringing back all the good times, or would they be reminders of all that was lost? Hours passed like minutes. When Jake finally stood at the entrance, facing the stream of guests, he felt a pang of emptiness wash over him. Then, an unexpected buzz broke through his reverie, a text from Emma. "Can we meet?" His heart flipped with anticipation and dread. Was this an olive branch or a knife in his back? Deciding to see her was no simple task. It felt like mixing old injuries with hope, painful but necessary. He prepared himself for the gala, his heart racing as he mentally practiced how to reconcile years of silence, anger, and longing. The night shimmered with laughter, music, and the clinking of glasses, yet Jake felt ensnared in a web of anxiety. As the clock struck 8, the room buzzed with warmth and camaraderie. Familiar faces surrounded him, friends who had supported him through thick and thin, but just then, the energy shifted. The doors swung open, and through the crowd walked Emma and Ryan, their presence like thunder after a long storm. Murmurs of surprise rippled through the guests as the siblings locked eyes with Jake, tension crackling in the air. They ventured closer, awkward laughter punctuating their stilted conversation. "How do you mend a dozen years of pain in mere words?" Their smiles felt both foreign and familiar, like an old tune replayed after far too long. Jake's chest tightened at memories of birthdays and vacations that had once solidified their bond, now shadowed by the bitterness that had followed their father's passing. Just as Jake allowed himself a flicker of hope, Emma raised her glass for a toast. The room hushed, the weight of anticipation heavy. "I have something to share." Her words teetered on the edge of revelation, glancing nervously at Ryan, and then the truth flowed out like a river breaking its dam. They had come into a sizable inheritance they chose to keep from Jake. Gasps echoed through the hall as Jake's heart plummeted. Betrayal tasted bitter, churning his insides. The glimmer of unity he had envisioned shattered like glass, and shock waves moved through the gathered crowd. He stood frozen, wrestling with disbelief and anger. What would he do now? Would he unleash the storm of hurt and resentment that brewed inside him, or would he strive to find a path toward understanding? The clock ticked, the eyes of family and friends locked on him, amplifying the pressure. The stakes had never been higher. Could love truly bridge the chasm of betrayal? A question hung thick in the air as Jake dared to take a step forward into the unknown. Jake's legs felt heavy as he stood there, emotions colliding within him like waves crashing against a stormy shore. Betrayal, hurt, and confusion rushed to the surface, and yet, beneath that turmoil, a deep-seated yearning for connection flickered softly. As he gazed at Emma, who still held her glass aloft, seeking the crowd's attention, he realized the siblings he had longed to see were standing right in front of him, but they were also strangers. Emma's voice broke through his thoughts, laced with something that resembled regret. "I didn't," she faltered, and the vulnerability in her eyes momentarily melted his anger. But only momentarily. "Didn't he what, Emma?" he asked, the words tumbling out sharper than he intended. "Didn't he think I deserved to know? Did you think keeping me in the dark was somehow protective?" The air grew thick with tension, eyes darting between the three of them, eager to witness what happened next. Ryan shifted uncomfortably beside Emma. "It's not like that, Jake. We wanted to what? Keep secrets from your brother? For 12 years. You both went through mom and dad's stuff and decided to take a windfall without even thinking about me." His voice grew louder, pulling the crowd's attention tighter. The murmur of the crowd shifted as realities played out, betrayal blooming like dark flowers around them. The noise of the gala faded, and all that remained was the electric charge of confrontation that crackled in the air. Jake knew he should calm down, try to understand. But the suffocating silence hanging over them refused to ease his heart. "I wanted to tell you," Emma said softly, her voice trembling, "but I didn't know how. Everything was so complicated." After she glanced at Ryan, then back to him. "After everything fell apart." "Complicated," Jake echoed, the word tasting bitter on his tongue. "Complicated doesn't even begin to describe it. You two disappeared, and now, just like that, you're back to tell me you've had an inheritance all this time." "I thought we were family," he spat back, his voice cracking. "Family is complicated," Ryan added, attempting to diffuse the tension, yet he didn't sound convinced of his own words. "We were trying to figure it out, to protect what little we had left." The room buzzed with whispers, but Jake could barely hear them. Instead, he could feel his heart thumping against his ribcage, each beat a reminder of the years spent alone, building a life without them. He thought back to their childhood, those memories replayed like a record skipping. Laughter. Adventure. Trust. And now this. "I don't want your money," Jake said, the words tumbling out with conviction. "I want my family back. I want honesty." With each word, he could sense a flicker of hope trying to break through the anger, but would they understand? Would they even care to listen? Suddenly, the walls he had built around his heart felt porous, and the fear of vulnerability crept in. What if they rejected him again? What if this moment splintered into yet another divide? As he looked into Emma's pleading eyes and Ryan's anxious face, he knew the path forward wasn't just about money or betrayal. It was about connection, about navigating the maze of their shared past. "Can we start over?" Jake's voice softened as he took a small step closer, heart racing. "Not just as siblings, but as a family." Tension hung in the air, uncertain as shattered glass, but the weight of his question sent ripples of emotion throughout the room. Every eye was now on the three siblings, waiting to see if they could move forward together. Just then, the door creaked open, revealing the uninvited someone arriving that could change everything again. Who was it, and how would Jake confront yet another surprise on this night of revelations? Jake barely had time to gather his thoughts when the door swung wide, and a chill raced through the crowd. He instinctively looked to Emma and Ryan, their faces a blend of confusion and intrigue, mirroring his own emotions. The murmurs from the crowd seemed to crescendo, pulling everyone's focus to the silhouette framed in the doorway. A figure stepped inside, a woman with familiar traits that stumbled Jake's breath. Long dark hair cascaded down her shoulders, a wisp of silver gleaming under the soft lights of the gala. It was Anna, their mother's younger sister. The last time Jake had seen her was at a family gathering when he was just a child. He thought she had vanished like so many others, but here she stood, pulling the past crashing back into the present. "Anna?" he whispered, disbelief lacing his words. "Jake," she said, walking toward him. Each step seemed heavy with an emotion that hung in the air like a freight train barreling down the tracks. "I needed to see you, all of you." Her gaze flicked between the three siblings, a swirl of recognition and sorrow dancing in her eyes. Jake felt the weight of secrets behind those words, and a knot tightened in his gut. The crowd fell silent, the festive music drowned out by the storm of emotions brewing. "Why now?" He found his voice again, sharper than before, carrying the sting of unresolved feelings. "Why choose this moment?" "I'm sorry," she replied, her voice shaky. "But there are things we need to discuss. Things about your parents, things about their inheritance." Jake's heart raced, battling the urge to flee and the desire to learn more. An inheritance, the term hung heavy in the air, promising revelations, but also carrying the stench of betrayal. "I thought we were done with all this." He gestured toward Emma and Ryan with a mix of anger and frustration. "What more can there possibly be?" Anna stepped closer, her face flickering with pain. "You don't understand. Your mother, she had plans for all of you. And she needed me to tell you her story before you could truly move forward." What story? Ryan interjected, trying to hold on to hope amidst the unraveling chaos. What do you mean? The tension felt like a taut rubber band ready to snap with every passing second. The air grew thick. Jake could almost taste the uncertainty on the back of his tongue as Anna's brows knitted together, forming a storm cloud over her brow. The past, she said cautiously, is not as you remember it. There are pieces you've never been told, pieces that change everything about your family. Secrets that might explain why Emma and Ryan made the decisions they did. Jake's heart sank as the weight of those words settled in. Could he take more secrets? Could he stay in this storm of emotions that felt relentless? For years, he fought to build a life, convinced he understood everything there was to know about his family. Now it felt as if that illusion was crumbling. I don't know if I can hear another thing, he muttered, his frustration simmering just below the surface. There's a reason for all of this, Anna said softly, eyes pleading with him to remain open. But you need to trust me. This is about your family's legacy and your future. With that, tension crackled in the air, uncertainty weaving through the crowd who watched as if the fate of their evening rested on this moment. Everyone held their breath, ready for the next twist in a night already filled with heartache. Jake stood frozen, wrestling with the instinct to run or fight. Would he dare to uncover this new layer of his family's story, or had he unearthed enough pain for one night? The stakes had never felt higher, and as he looked at Emma and Ryan, unexpected emotions flooded him again. What if this moment offered the key to rebuilding their bond? The question hung like a dark cloud over them, waiting for someone to speak again. And then, with a sudden rush of resolve, Jake took a deep breath, knowing that the real battle was just beginning, one that could either heal him or destroy what little remained. What would Anna reveal, and how would it change the fragile connections they were trying to rebuild? Jake felt the weight of the moment settle over him, like a heavy blanket smothering a fire. Anna continued to stand there, her hands trembling slightly as if she, too, felt the tension rippling around them. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, their whispers rising and falling like waves on a restless ocean. Can we talk somewhere private? Anna finally asked, breaking the silence. Her voice was soft, but it carried a weight that demanded attention. Jake glanced at Emma and Ryan, who seemed as equally conflicted as he felt. The smells of champagne and food drifted around them, a stark contrast to the havoc unraveling inside him. The only thing he could hear were the racing beats of his heart pounding against his chest. Can't this wait? He said, frustration lacing his voice. It can't wait, Anna insisted, her gaze piercing through him. You deserve to know, and trust me, you might not believe it at first, but you need to hear my side. Your side? What about the side we've lived all these years? Emma interjected, her voice trembling with both anger and fear. What could be so important that you have to drag up all this pain again? Might be best to get this over with, Jake finally said, his resolve solidifying. Yeah, let us find a quieter place. They moved away from the thumping music and light chatter, hearts heavy with unspoken fears. They settled into a nook at the back of the grand hall, the chandeliers casting dim light over their faces. The silence that followed was thick, wrapping them in a cocoon of anticipation and dread. Okay, Anna. Start talking, Jake said, crossing his arms defensively. Anna took a deep breath, her eyes gaining focus as she prepared to dive into whatever storm lay ahead. Your mother was involved in things you wouldn't imagine. She had secrets, true secrets that she thought would protect you, but they only caused more harm. She believed they would ruin our family's reputation. What kind of secrets? Ryan asked, eagerness swirling with disbelief. She hesitated, her face showing a mix of determination and sadness. Your mother, she wasn't just a devoted mother. She was involved in a charity, yes, but it wasn't a charity as you think. It was much more than that. There were deals, connections with people none of you knew about. Jake felt a knot tightening. Are you saying she was doing something illegal? No. It wasn't illegal, but it put her in a compromising position. She wanted to keep you safe. She kept you in the dark, believing it would shield you from consequences, but in reality, it created a shadow over our family. Jake's head spun. This was a lot to process. And you think you can just drop this news and make everything okay? No. I'm not saying that. But you need to understand her choices came from a place of love and fear. Love and fear. Emma scoffed, tears glimmering at the corners of her eyes. It's hard to see love behind secrets. What kind of legacy is that? Anna's expression softened. It was a legacy built on protection, digital files, spreadsheets, funds that were supposed to ensure you all had a future, away from prying eyes. But all along, it left us isolated. The darkness surrounding the truth loomed larger. Jake felt like he was losing control of everything he thought he knew. A legacy is meant to be cherished, but these revelations felt more like a curse. Why should we trust you now? He asked, the frustration boiling beneath his surface. Because you owe it to yourselves to hear your mother's story. To understand the choices that were made. It's the only way you'll move forward. Jake looked at Emma and Ryan, both struggling with their own emotions, yet somehow yearning for more information. They were stuck at a crossroads, a nexus where the past and future collided. Could they allow Anna to turn the tide on their family's history? Let us hear the whole truth but make it count, he stated with newfound determination, preparing himself for whatever revelations were yet to unfold. As the night continued, a sense of gravity settled over them. What would this new chapter reveal? Would they be able to piece together their family's shattered legacy, or would it only deepen the rift they thought they were mending? Anna's next words held the power to heal or to further shatter their fragile lives once more. The question lingered as they braced for what lay ahead. Anna took another deep breath, gathering every ounce of courage she had. The tension between them was palpable, like a wire stretched too tight, ready to snap. When your mother started the charity, it wasn't just for altruism. There were strings attached, people who expected favors in return for their donations. It became tangled with control and manipulation. She had to navigate a dangerous web. Jake's gut clenched. Why didn't she ever tell us? Why keep all this a secret? Because she thought it was the only way to protect you. She believed that ignorance was safety, Anna explained, her voice trembling with emotion. But the truth has a way of crawling back to the surface. Emma crossed her arms, her brow furrowing with suspicion. So, let me get this straight. Our mother was playing a high-stakes game with people we didn't even know, all while pretending to be this perfect mom. That doesn't sit right. Just hear me out, Anna urged. She shifted slightly, as if the weight of her revelations were pressing down on her too. Your mother was forced to make decisions she never wanted to make. There were threats, things she had to cover up to keep everyone safe. I thought you should know, especially since things have started resurfacing. Ryan furrowed his brows. What do you mean things are resurfacing? The files, the records, they're still out there. Documents tied to your mother's name. If anyone found them now, it could ruin everything, expose her for what she really was involved in. Anna's voice was barely above a whisper, but every word echoed in their minds like a bomb dropping. Jake felt the air around them shift. Uncertainty loomed like a dark cloud, and each of them grappled with their emotions: shock, anger, and a strange desire for the truth. And now we're the ones stuck in the fallout. Emma snapped, frustration now coloring her tone. How are we supposed to deal with this? With whatever dangers are lurking out there? That's why I came to you, Anna said, her eyes glistening with sincerity. You don't have to face it alone. I want to help you figure this all out, to protect the family that's left. But you need to trust me. Jake turned to Emma and Ryan, searching for hope in their gazes. He saw the fear reflected back at him, mingled with a flicker of curiosity. I don't know if we can just sweep this under the rug. We need to find out what really happened. We need to know what our mother sacrificed. What if what she sacrificed affects us? What if it shatters the remnants of family we have left? Emma asked, her voice shaking. Then We face it together, Jake said, feeling a surge of determination. We find those documents. We confront the truth, no matter how painful it is. Anna nodded appreciatively, sensing Jake's resolve. There's strength in uncovering the truth, I promise you. It may hurt now, but it could liberate you in the end. As they stood there, grappling with their tangled emotions, the night took on an even deeper heaviness, a sense of impending change. They had traded ignorance for a fragmented truth, and while it scared them, they felt oddly united. What if we're ready to discover the story our mother lived? Ryan echoed softly, uncertainty lining his words. Then we must make a plan, Anna said, the resolve in her voice matching Jake's. And with that, they began to weave together a path through the shadows of their family's past, the first step sending ripples through their hearts. But would they find healing, or fracture even further in the process? The night held more answers than they dared to dream. But would those answers be too much for them to bear? The truth felt like a monster lurking in the dark, waiting for the right moment to pounce. Jake, Anna, Emma, and Ryan gathered around the old oak table, the kind you'd find in a cozy family kitchen. This one felt heavy with history, like their family's legacy. The air hung with a mix of anxiety and determination as they began to outline their plan. First things first, Jake said, his voice steady but laced with urgency. We need a place to start. Any idea where your mother might have kept those documents? He looked directly at Anna, feeding on her courage. Anna bit her lip, her expression lost in thought. I don't know exactly, but I remember her mentioning a safe in the study. It was a small room, filled with books and old photos. She said it was where she kept everything that mattered. Then that's where we need to go, Ryan replied, stirring with a mix of hope and dread. But how do we get in? It's been locked since she passed. His voice dripped with sadness, the memories flooding back. I can help, Anna said, voice stronger now. I know the code. She told me once, but I thought it was only for emergencies. I never thought I'd actually have to use it. Emma's skepticism was hard to miss. There might be more than just papers in there. What if there is something worse waiting for us? What if she had enemies? The question hung heavy, but Jake shook his head. We have to know. Ignorance is not an option anymore. We need to confront whatever is waiting for us. Okay, Emma said, unfolding her arms, her fear slowly morphing into determination. We do this together. No holding back, right? A collective nod swept the table. They were ready to dive headfirst into this tangled web, searching for answers that had eluded them for too long. Night slipped away, and the early morning light peeked through the curtains, stretching long fingers of illumination across the room. In that quiet moment, they made a pact: whatever waited inside that study would be met with courage and togetherness. As they prepared to leave, a shiver of uncertainty rippled through Jake. He glanced at Emma, who was straightening her shoulders as if to shake off the night's worries. You okay? I will be, once we get this over with, she replied, a whisper of worry still laced in her tone. The car ride was filled with tense silence, broken only by the sound of tires crunching over gravel. With each passing moment, Jake's heart raced. Visions of what they might uncover filled his mind: secrets, betrayals, perhaps even remnants of a life he never fully understood. Arriving at the family home, the sun painted the once welcoming facade in ominous shadows. Anna led them through the door, her footsteps echoing in the familiar space. Memories flooded back for Jake as he stepped inside. The scent of old wood and lingering perfume wrapped around him like an embrace, both comforting and painful. They reached the study door, the weight of the moment settling upon them. Anna paused, her hand hovering over the code pad. This is it. Are we ready? Jake met each of their eyes, searching for the resolve he hoped they all felt. Together. Together, they echoed. As Anna punched in the code, the door creaked open, revealing darkness inside. The room felt like a vault, holding more than just secrets. It was a shrine to the past they had left behind, but as the door swung wide, a chill swept in. It was more than just dust motes and forgotten heirlooms, it was the palpable weight of everything they'd lost and everything they were about to find. What awaited them in the shadows of that room had the potential to break them or heal them in ways they never imagined, and as they crossed the threshold, a haunting voice echoed in Jake's mind, "The truth is a monster that waits to pounce. What would it reveal? What consequences lay waiting for them?" The moment Anna stepped into the study, the air shifted. Dust particles danced in the thin light filtering through the window, and a sensation clung to Jake like stepping into a forgotten chapter of life. He found himself holding his breath, half expecting the room to exhale the secrets it had kept for so long. Emma followed Anna closely, wide-eyed as she scanned the walls lined with books. Some stood tall and proud, while others sagged, as if burdened by the passage of time. Ryan's hand rested on Anna's shoulder, a comforting gesture, as they approached the old oak desk that sat in the center of the room, sturdy and silent. "Let us start looking," Anna said, her voice steady now, tension replaced by the thrill of discovery. As they fanned out across the room, Jake felt a rush of determination course through him, blending with a deep sense of responsibility. This was about more than just documents. It was about understanding who they were and what had driven their family apart. That he moved to a tall cabinet, pulling gently at the doors. They creaked, revealing neatly arranged files. His heart quickened. Could this hold what they were searching for? "Found anything?" Anna called, her fingers tracing the edges of a framed photo. "Not yet," he replied, feeling the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. "But there's bound to be something here." "Jake." Emma's voice sliced through the silence. He turned to see her holding a small journal, its cover worn. "Look at this." Approaching cautiously, he could see the edges of the pages were frayed, as if they had been hastily pulled from their bindings. Emma's eyes sparkled with curiosity, a blend of excitement and fear. "Is it?" Ryan began, but his voice trailed off. "It could be," Anna whispered, stepping closer. As Emma opened the journal, everyone leaned in, their breaths mingling in the charged atmosphere. The first few pages were filled with neat handwriting. It was Anna's mother's careful script, a style they all recognized but hadn't seen in years. "What does it say?" Jake asked, his pulse racing. Emma squinted, then began to read aloud. "I write this in hopes that one day my children might understand the choices I've made." The room slipped away as they listened. Each word pulled them deeper into a world of family secrets, betrayal, love, and heartbreak. "I never wanted to hurt anyone," Emma read, her voice unsteady. "Yet, I had to make decisions that seemed impossible, choices that would keep you safe from the truth." She paused, swallowing hard. "What truth?" Anna clutched her mother's journal as if it were a lifeline. "There's more," she insisted, flipping through the pages, eyes wide with desperation. "There has to be more." Jake exchanged a glance with Ryan. He could see the unspoken question mirrored in their eyes. What had their mother kept hidden all these years? "Look." Anna's voice was sharp with urgency. There's a section marked with a different date, a recent one. As they huddled closer, Jake's mind raced and his heart thumped. What had begun as a quest for simple answers was spiraling into a labyrinth of uncertainties. "What if it's something we shouldn't know?" Ryan murmured, almost too afraid to voice the thought, a tension crackling between them. "Or what if it's the one thing we need to finally understand?" Jake shot back, frustration spiking in his chest. Emma nodded, a steely resolve in her expression. "Leverage or loss, we need to know who we are dealing with." With shaking hands, Anna turned the pages to find the section marked by emotional, frenzied scrawls. The room felt charged with potential, as if the shadows were watching, awaiting the revelation, and as the words came to life in the silence, a sudden noise echoed outside, shaking them to the core. A loud crash. The thick, wooden door rattled, forcing them backward, hearts pounding in unison. What was that? Anna gasped, breaking the stillness, eyes wide with panic. Jake felt dread coil in his stomach. "Stay close," he commanded, adrenaline surging through him. They were not alone. What had they awakened? What lay just beyond the door? The room stood still, the weight of fear settling like a heavy fog. The four of them huddled together, an unspoken bond solidifying in that moment. The journal lay forgotten, its words momentarily swallowed by the unsettling sound outside. Jake felt his heart racing, each thump echoing the pulse of anxiety coursing through him. "We need to check it out," he managed to say, voice steady yet laced with urgency. Despite the fear that crept up, there was a fierce determination beneath it. They had come too far to back down now. Anna nodded, her hands gripping the back of the chair as if it could anchor her. Ryan, ever the protector, stepped slightly in front of her. "I'll go first," he said, his voice low. With a deep breath, he took a step towards the door. The others followed, exchanging glances of solidarity, a silent agreement that they would tackle whatever awaited them together. Just as Ryan reached for the doorknob, the crash came again, this time louder, more violent. It felt like a physical blow, shaking the very ground they stood on. "What if it's an intruder?" Emma whispered, her eyes wide with dread. "Well, we're not going to find out standing here," Jake replied, the weight of responsibility nudging him forward. He stepped beside Ryan, determination fueling him. "On 3. 1, 2, 3. They swung the door open, hearts pounding in their chests. Sunlight poured in, illuminating the hallway, but nothing was amiss. It was the rest of the house that seemed eerily quiet. Just outside the study, a fallen picture frame lay shattered on the ground. Just a framed picture. Anna exhaled, relief pooling in her voice but quickly mingling with anxiety. "No, it can't be. There's something more to this," Jake insisted. He closed the door behind them, alert. "Let us check the rest of the house. Stay close." They moved in unison, emotions running high. Each creak of the floorboards felt amplified, echoing their collective unease. Every room they entered appeared untouched, just as they remembered, but a lingering tension hung in the air as if it was holding its breath alongside them. It was as though the house itself was waiting, holding on to its secrets. "Anna, where's South the next place your mom used to keep important things?" Jake asked, urgency creeping back into his voice. He could feel time slipping. What if someone had come before them and found something they hadn't? Maybe the attic? She suggested, voice hardly a whisper. "That's where she kept the old family photos and stuff. It's been locked since." Her words dropped into a painful silence. They all understood the weight of that sentiment. "Then let us go," Ryan said, leading the way up the stairs. As they climbed, the air grew thicker, the sense of unease amplifying with each step. Jake felt a pit deepening in his stomach. This was supposed to be about uncovering layers of truth, not just for them but for their mother, whose shadow loomed larger than ever. Finally, they reached the attic door, its lock dusty from years of neglect. Anna reached for the key she always kept hidden, fingers shaking. "I think this is it. If we find something here, it could change everything." As the key turned, they all held their breath, the anticipation swirling into a tempest of hope and dread. With a creak, the door swung open. A gust of musty air rushed out, swirling around them like the ghosts of memories long forgotten. Inside, the dim light revealed a trove of old boxes, each one a fragment of the past. Jake's mind raced. What if the answers they needed lay buried under layers of time and dust? But as they stepped inside, the sense of something being off only deepened. The atmosphere pulled taut, and a noise emerged from the far corner, a rustling sound, almost like whispering, echoing through the silence. "What's that?" Emma whispered, drawing closer to Jake, who felt himself instinctively reach for her hand. Before he could respond, something flickered in the shadows, catching his eye. He squinted, heart pounding in his chest as the whispers grew louder, pulling them in. "What if it's her?" Ryan breathed, voice trembling slightly. Instead of peace, a thread of dread wound tighter around them. Were they truly prepared to face whatever lurked in the remnants of the past? As they approached the source of the sound, Jake knew in his gut that this moment was about to change everything. He braced himself, heart thumping hard, as they took their first step into the unknown darkness. What hidden truths were waiting for them, just out of sight? The attic was a world of remnants, lost stories waiting to be uncovered. Dust motes danced in the weak light that crept in from a small window. Shadows twisted and turned, forming shapes that played tricks on the mind. Jake's breath caught in his throat as they edged further into the room, the rustling sound growing louder, almost beckoning them. Guy's Anna's voice was barely audible, thick with fear. "Should we really be here?" "There's no turning back now," Jake replied, glancing toward the others. Their expressions were mirrors of his own inner turmoil, curiosity framed by terror. The boxes towered like sentinels guarding memories both cherished and painful. "We have to find it," Ryan said, his determination cutting through the thickening air. "Whatever is making that noise." As they moved closer, the rustling ceased abruptly, leaving behind an eerie silence. Jake's heart thudded loudly in his chest, each beat a reminder of the stakes. He felt the weight of his mother's legacy on their shoulders, a shadow darker than any lurking in the attic. Maybe it was just the wind, Emma suggested weakly, shaking off a chill that ran over her. Or maybe it's something else, Jake murmured, stepping forward as he strained his eyes against the dimness. "Keep close." The flickering of something metallic caught his eye in the far corner, an old trunk, its lock seemingly intact but aged. Cautiously, he approached it, every nerve in his body tingling with anticipation. Could this be what they were searching for? As he reached for the trunk, a sudden noise erupted from behind them, a crash that made them all jump. In the split second of shock, Jake whipped around, ready to face whatever threat they might encounter. But all he found was darkness, a shadow retreating deeper into the attic. "Did you see that?" Anna gasped, her eyes wide. "Something's up there with us," Ryan affirmed, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. "We need to move." "Wait." Jake's voice was firm. "If there is something we need to confront, we can't run." They all hesitated, the air thick with uncertainty. The urge to flee warred with their need for answers. But Jake took a deep breath, emboldened by the weight of their mission. "We need to know what that noise was. It could mean everything." Gathering their courage, they turned back to the trunk. Together, they knelt before it, the dusty surface cool under their fingertips. Jake took the lead, feeling for the latch. With a slight shake, the lock snapped open, sending a shiver down his spine. "What's inside?" Emma asked, her voice trembling with a mixture of hope and dread. With a firm grip, he lifted the lid. The hinges creaked loudly, and as light streamed in, it unveiled an assortment of objects. Old photographs, letters yellowed with age, and a delicate locket that sparkled in the dim light. "Look at this," Anna whispered, lifting a photograph that showed her mother smiling, alive, vibrant. "Guys, down here." Ryan shouted, pointing to a stack of papers beneath the photographs. They all leaned closer, hearts racing. The faded letters were neatly folded, the handwriting familiar yet foreign, each loop and swirl choking with emotion. As Jake pulled one out, a chilling realization sank in. The words were filled with despair and longing, fragments of his mother's life that spoke of struggles they had never known. The deeper they delved, the more entangled in her story they became. Before they could process this revelation, the rustling began again, this time accompanied by the unmistakable sound of footsteps right behind them. "Who's there?" Jake yelled, adrenaline surging through him. The letters fluttered from his fingers, scattering onto the floor like forgotten dreams. As they turned, a figure emerged from the shadows, slowly stepping into the dim light. The four of them stood frozen, and Jake's heart dropped. Recognizing the face that had haunted their memories, he felt the walls close in. "Mom." The room itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the truth to unfold. What could she possibly want after all this time? And what would it mean? For the bonds they thought were so strong, the air crackled with unresolved tensions, leaving them at the precipice of something monumental. Would they finally find the answers to the questions that had plagued them for years? Or would the truth rattle their fragile connections apart forever? What had she come back for? Jake. Emma. Ryan. Her voice was a haunting melody, rich with longing and sadness. The warmth they had felt moments ago now hung in the air like a chilling fog. It was her. Their mother alive, yet shrouded in the complexities of the moment. The vision of her from their memories faded into a silhouette of worry and regret. Mom. Jake breathed, heart pounding like a war drum. Each syllable felt heavy, as if the weight of the years apart hung between them, waiting for the unsaid to be spoken. The figure stepped closer, bringing a rush of emotions flooding back. Memories of being enveloped in her warmth, her laughter ringing through the house like the sweetest echo, joy, hope, confusion, all colliding in that instant. I'm here, she whispered, voice thick with emotion, eyes shining with tears long unshed. Emma glanced from their mother to Jake, her confusion mirrored in Ryan's expression. But how? We thought the words trailed off, lost in the tide of disbelief. The unfinished sentence hung with a weight that tethered their hearts to a childhood they had thought they lost. Their mother seemed to sway, fighting the flood of memories that fought to reclaim her. I never meant to hurt you. Everything I did was to protect you. I thought if I could shield you from the truths of our lives, you would be safer. Each word poured from her like a stream, gentle but fierce, the power of her conviction washing over them. Safer from what? Jake's voice came out rough, like a jagged stone. The resolve he'd felt moments before was threaded with anger now, bright and hot. You left us in the dark. You let us think you were gone forever. I had no choice, she replied, her voice trembling. There are things you don't understand. Secrets that swirl around us like smoke. I needed to keep you away from dangers that I thought would never creep into our lives. Danger? Emma whispered, light finally flickering in her eyes like a fire igniting. You mean the inheritance? You played a game where our lives were at stake. Not just the inheritance, their mother interjected, urgency flooding her tone. I had to flee, to protect you all. It wasn't just about money. There were people who wanted to take everything from us. Everything I built. Ryan took a breath, kneading his fingers into trembling fists. And you thought it better to ghost us? To let us believe you were dead? His eyes blazed with the fire of betrayal. No, no. I thought I was saving you. I thought. Her voice broke, and for a moment, vulnerability shielded her. I thought that if you believed in your father's legacy, that you could craft your own dreams, you would never feel the weight of the family's secrets. I'm tired of secrets. Jake shot back, anger bubbling like a volcano ready to erupt. We need truth. We need to understand who we really are. Then let me tell you, she whispered, pain twisting her features. Let me share everything I never wanted you to know. There are things in this house that can explain why I had to do what I did. River of secrets that could drown us or unite us. Jake's breath quickened. A subtle shift in the room made him aware that the decision wasn't just about wanting truth or facing betrayal. It would define them. Breaking free from the bonds of their past would take power, but also extraordinary strength. Let us hear it, he said, breaking the tension in the silence. Together. The weight in the air felt lighter, anticipation knitting them tightly. Their mother's gaze filled with a flurry of emotions. We can't keep running from the past. It's time to face it head-on. I promise you, we'll face it together. Jake stepped forward, the edges of his heart softening. Then let us start with what you kept hidden. All those years. Their mother took a deep breath, bracing herself for the weight of revealing everything. The flicker of hope hung between them like a dream, promising the possibility of healing, a sturdy bridge built over dark waters. Anna, standing beside Jake, nodded, feeling the thrum of a new bond forming. Whatever it is, we can make it through. We are strong. Together. We can rewrite our story. As their mother began to speak, weaving through the tapestry of their shared lives, revealing love, mistakes, and the difficult choices she made. Jake felt a flickering flame of unity growing in their chest. The laughter, the tears, the stories they spilled into the room, binding them closer than the painful secrets had torn them apart, and as each piece of the puzzle came together, he understood, love wasn't about the absence of pain or mistakes, but about facing everything together, a shared journey of healing. The journey was just beginning, but now they were armed with truth and the promise of family. No longer shadows haunted by the past, but bright spirits ready to reclaim their future. As they embraced, the darkness that once seemed impenetrable began to lift, revealing a mosaic of hope glimmering brightly before them. They were more than just siblings, they were allies, and with that realization, the bond forged in childhood became a tapestry of resilience, love, and forgiveness. Their real story was waiting to be written, and this time, the pen would rest firmly in each of their hands. Don't wait a moment longer. Now is the time to subscribe immediately to the channel for more transformative stories like this one. Your likes feed the algorithm, so leave a like now to show your support. We want to hear what you think. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending down below. And this is urgent, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see the power of this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Don't wait not even one more second to share.